is Lenny Shudo, and this morning we are doing an additional interview with another shipmate off of the USS BANG. Bill, may I ask you to give your full name, your rate, and the years you were on the USS BANG, please?
Okay, my name is Bill VonDerLieth, and I was aboard the BANG in 1952. I recommissioned her and stayed to 1956. I was a chief electrician.
Can you give us a little bit about how you managed to get in the Navy and then eventually get the submarines?
I was about 11 years old when the submarine Squabbas went down off of Portsmouth on sea trials. Then I decided that was my life's calling, was going to be submarines. But I went through boot camp in Sampson, New York, spent Thanksgiving there and Christmas there, on into submarine school, finished submarine school, got orders heading west. I got as far as Iowa, and I was asked to, or not asked, I was given orders to get off the troop train in the middle of Iowa and sat there with a deputy sheriff with orders to send me back east on the next troop train. The deputy sheriff put me on the next troop train going back east, or not, it wasn't even a troop train, it sent me back east. I got to New York, and that's all it said, New York City, and so I went to Recruiter and found out at, I believe it was 90 Church Street, and I remember that. And we went to, they called New London, sent me back to New London. And I was back there for a short period of time. And I got orders to Washington, D.C. So I went down there, and I went to school in the morning, and I saw, here's going to cryptography school. Okay. We break for lunch, I come back, and I got, no longer welcome at school. So, got orders back to New London. And by this time, here's twice my orders have been changed and sent back to New London. And I was sent off to the squadron. The squadron took one look at me, sent me back to sub school, and back and forth. And I went down to about 3 boats, and everybody. And it wasn't until after the war, and we were reviewing things and doing. My mother's cousin had come over from Germany after World War I, and in fact, in 1922, he became part of the German-American Bund prior to the war, and
okay.
This is where they finally dawned on them when I was crossing country that maybe he's not a very good risk. So they sent me back to New London, and then somebody in New London didn't see the red flag or whatever was on my record. They sent me down to cryptography school, and now cryptography school said, whoops, nope, you don't belong here either. I got out after I had my 4 years in, and a little bit more. I went back to New London and went to work as a civilian, and things were not that very good at that time.
You mean outside as a civilian?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
It was, so I went back to New London, and I see if I knew anybody. Well, now I was second class, now I knew a little bit what was going on in the Navy, a little bit better. And I was down Ernie's Bar and run into a very good friend of mine. He was there, and he said, yeah, we're looking for electricians aboard the Robin. And he says, the exec, in fact, we just bought a couple of guys, and so he called the exec, and the exec come down and interviewed me in Ernie's Bar in New London. He says, you know, if everything you say is right, he says, I'll check out this weekend. You'll be aboard Monday morning. So that's how I come back in the Navy.
You were on the BANG for how long? How many years?
I recommissioned the BANG in 1952 up in Portsmouth. I stayed on the BANG until 1956. Came aboard the BANG at first class, made chief on the BANG. And during the time I was on the BANG, there was big evolution going on with the Navy.
From a technological perspective?
Yes, technological.
Which is
We
sorta-
were working on automatic depth controls and all of this we were working with. I was an I seaman, I was getting involved with the Scania Corporation and that, and with vacuum tube depth control, and the vacuum tubes would react very favorably to the big temperature changes we see on the boat.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you saw technological changes in a variety of
Oh, yes.
systems.
Yeah, then I saw technological changes in battery propulsion systems and everything. This is a time of the integration within the military. People that used to be just stewards, could only hold the steward position, were now being accepted into the
Other races of the Navy.
right.
Okay.
We had one steward, one colored, John Wyoming, it was a tough time, and there's a lot of people that had more sensitivities to this change than I did. And so John became, I took John underneath my wing. He did a very good job of teaching the electrical systems aboard this, and that he was a very good instructor because he was very slow and methodical methodical, yeah.
What was your opinion of the crew that you were with during your time on the Bang?
The Bang was probably the best submarine I was ever served on.
And how many total did you serve on? Got any idea?
It must have been at least 10.
Okay. So
on
she
and
was
on.
number 1 out of 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Tell me why you thought she was the best.
Everybody just seemed to mesh together. They did. They were just fantastic people. All submarines were fantastic people, don't get me wrong, but Bang was.
Mentioning that you thought the Bang was the best boat out of 10 of the boats that you
Yeah.
were on. Can you explain to me why you have that opinion?
All the other boats I were on were good boats, don't get me wrong, but there's just a certain camaraderie on the Bang that is beyond words to me. But I just know that it was, I've been to a couple of the other boat reunions, I've been to Seawell, and I've been to Greenfish reunion, and there was nothing like the reunion to the Bang. I'm just as much with somebody that was on at the tail end as I am with Ed Cracker and Gunny and that who were on there during the war.
I want to mention to you that as we are doing this interview, I took on this project for the group last year, and there are 31 World War II veterans from the Bang that are still alive.
Yes.
Now that's an interesting fact, and they all have different stories, and that's the reason we're doing interviews. What I've learned from doing these interviews so far is it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of the right word, but I'll use the word willingness for everyone to go out of their way and work with everyone else. And I think that's the important factors that make the United States Bang and her crews from 1942 to 1972 a very special boat.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%.
I would like to ask you at this time, Bill,
Yeah.
is there anything that you would like to mention for the record that we haven't discussed, or some thoughts that you would like to communicate?
I'm in my 80s, and I see this this wonderful land of ours just sort of crumbling by the wayside here on some of the issues that are going by, and things that if somebody sneezes, you can't say God bless you anymore in school or anything like that, or where people not want to say the Pledge of Allegiance. This is our country. This is something that is very important to me and to a lot of people, but yet why we can't honor. I don't know. But I do think we need a little bit of patriotism brought back. I do see, when I flew out today, or this time, the airlines are getting very conscious, and they're saying, okay, any military personnel board the plane first. And this is, make me feel pretty proud that somebody is starting to recognize some of this. And the TV ads that you see, that welcome back, and we need to do this for a lot of people.
And I thank you. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much for being willing to do this interview. I have enjoyed talking with you, and I am proud to call you shipmate on the Bang.
Yeah, I want to thank you for the privilege of doing this. I might also mention I have a grandson that is was through Pensacola here, Naval Air, and he's now out in Hawaii. He's they're flying out of there and gone for a couple of weeks at a time. What he's doing, I'm sure, was some of the similar things that we were doing, places that we weren't talking about.
Or couldn't talk about.
Right. Still won't talk about that. Yeah. Then thank you again for everything.
My pleasure, Bill. It was a privilege and an honor of doing this interview with you. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks again.